What is going on, guys and girls? Welcome back to TV and Me. I'm of course Kevin, and it's time for the Walking Dead weekend. Yes, today is Saturday, and today marks the first day of our new upload schedule. Like I said previous video, we're going to have uploads every Saturday and Sunday, with a episode not every Wednesday, but every other Wednesday we'll say, chucked in until we catch up with the series. And should I find myself needing to watch more episodes as we come up to the release of season 8, then I'll do that. I sort of speed up the upload process, but in the meantime, this will be how it will be going forward. So before we get into the recap, I have one other little piece of news, and that is that I have set up a Discord server. Now, for those of you who don't know, Discord is basically like an instant messaging service where you can talk to other people in real time. So I set it up basically so like fans of The Walking Dead can talk to one another about the show, and basically just about TV and movie and gaming in general. You know, you can meet other like-minded people and make friends with people, and also I'll be visiting it now and again. You know, I'll pop on when I have time and talk to people. So if that's something that interests you, you can find the link in the description below this video and just click join. With that selfless plug out the way, let's get straight into the recap of last episode. So last episode was all about Carl, Rick and Michonne. It was the coming together of Carl and Rick, you know, after all the disagreements they've had in the past, and it was Michonne finding a way again. So actually, staying on the topic of Carl and Rick first, I just wanted to touch on something, and that was the fact in my review, or my reaction last time, I sort of had a bit of an outburst at Carl when he started calling his father out and blaming him for everything that happened with Herschel and Laurie. And it did anger me, and it still angers me a bit, but having read your comments, having had time to think about it, you've sort of shed light on the whole situation. You've made me realise that the whole reason Carl was doing that was because, for one reason anyway, was because he was trying to come to terms with what was happening and the fact he could be out on his own, because his father was unconscious on the sofa, you know, he was non-responsive, and for all he knew, he was dead. And actually, I believe he thinks he was dead, because as soon as Rick stirred from that sleep or that slumber, we saw that he went straight for the gun because he thought he was a walker, so he obviously thought he was dying or he was dead. So I think the whole reason he had that outburst was because he was trying to verbalise out loud these excuses as to why he doesn't need his father, and as to why his father was weak and how he would be better off without him, to make himself feel more secure in his own decision on being alone. And despite all that, we did see at the end there, and the moment which I absolutely loved, the moment where Carl came to the realisation, despite all the bravado and all the, you know, shouting at his father, that he does in fact need him. He came to the realisation that without his father, you know, he has nothing left in the world. And in that moment where he thought Rick was a walker and he came towards him and grabbed him, he thought in that moment he was going to die, and, you know, he accepted it. He accepted it, in my eyes, this is why I think he accepted it. It was because he would have been the last person of his family alive. You know, he's had to kill his mother. He believes Judith is dead, and now Rick, in his mind, had died. So what was the point? He didn't want to go on fighting on his own. Maybe in the future, if he was older, he could do it. But at that moment, in this moment in time, he wasn't ready. So I think that is the reason he gave up. He submitted, and then the realisation that his father is in fact alive when he spoke to him was like a massive weight off his shoulders. And in that moment, I think he came to terms with the fact that despite him not agreeing with some of Rick's decisions, you know, the fact is he still needs his father to guide him. He still needs him around to teach him lessons, and the fact Carl is mature enough to realise that and understand that is really impressive, and it just gives me more respect for that character. One more thing I want to touch on with Carl and Rick actually before I move on to Michonne, and that is whenever Carl mentions Shane, it really gets on my nerves. And the reason is because we all know what went down with Shane. Carl knows what went down with Shane because he's the one that had to shoot the Walker version, and he knows that just that mention of that name is going to anger his father, or not just anger his father, it's going to hurt his father, because he knows his father is really raw about that whole situation. You know, he's still not got over it entirely. He's always going to carry that burden with him, and Carl knows this, and every time he does that and brings up Shane, he knows he's having a dig at his father. And yes, it could just be a child like lashing out, because let's be honest, as some of you mentioned in the comment section as well, he is an angsty teenager pretty much. You know, he's growing up in this world, he's had to kill his mother, he's seen his sister die, or thinks his sister died, and, you know, he's carrying all this baggage. But I just wish in those moments he showed a bit more maturity and a bit more love towards his father. You know, you can have a go at your father, you can question his father's decisions, but just don't throw shame in his face every time you want to hurt him, because I feel like that's a low blow. But let's move on to Michonne. And I really enjoyed this episode for Michonne for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we learnt a bit of a backstory. We learnt that she had, I believe it was a boyfriend. Somebody told me it wasn't her husband, it was a boyfriend. I think it was you, Jordan, but I'm not 100%. It was in fact a boyfriend, and it was a boyfriend's friend. So obviously these are people she was close to, people she cared for, and also she had a child, of course, which I'm guessing was with that boyfriend. So, you know, we learned that she had people she cared about. They're no longer about, of course. We also learned the two guys that were in that vision, or that dream, were in fact the two walkers she had about with her, the pack mules, the ones that were without the arms and without the jaw, and the ones that she had with her for a very long time. And at one point she did actually say to Andrea, when they were sitting under a tree near a fire, that they weren't human. So, you know, I speculated at that time they were rapists or something, but of course they're not. They are people she knows. And in the last episode, she sort of, or the boyfriend hinted in a certain sentence he had, or bit of monologue he had in the episode, that, you know, he wasn't happy with this world, he didn't want to live in this world. Or that's what I took from the whole scene. And combine that with that scene with Andrea, and I'm feeling in some way, because the child isn't about anymore, and I mentioned it in last review, that I feel that maybe the boyfriend took his own life because he didn't want to live in this world, and maybe he took the child with him. Whether or not that's true, I do not know. But, you know, I feel like eventually they're going to show us. And, you know, they have drawn out Michonne's backstory quite a bit. But in a way, I sort of enjoy that, because she's a bit more mysterious. You know, we're always guessing as to what's happened in her past. We're always looking for clues, like that situation with Beth and Judith when they were in the prison and she held Judith and she started to cry. That sort of gave us a clue as to her background. And, you know, it's been pretty cool trying to pick out those clues, but I am glad that they're starting to slowly reveal that to us. The other moment I really enjoyed from last episode with Michonne was the whole, her coming to the realisation that she no longer wanted to go back to her old ways of being on her own. She no longer wanted to be part of the Horde, because what she was doing, she was basically part of the Walker Horde. She was walking with them, she was talking to no one, she was alone. She may as well have been dead or been one of the Walkers. And I think she realised in that moment, when she saw that other Walker, she saw herself in that walk, and she decided, she chose not to live that life anymore, and she killed them all, she sliced them, she diced them, and she headed back to the road and followed Rick's tracks back to the house. And I've got to say, that whole moment where Michonne looked through the window and saw Rick and Cole together, and she broke down, was just absolutely magical. I love that moment, because that was a moment of rare joy that we've had in the show. It's not very often we get moments of joy, and just Michonne seeing them again and knowing that she's not going to be alone, she's going to be with them, was just incredible. And I've got to say, actually, that is probably one of my top moments of the Walking Dead series so far. Through everything that's gone on, all the massive moments, all the heart-tearing moments, just that one moment of joy in Michonne's face as she saw him again was absolutely magical, and I really liked it. But that's enough of me talking, because otherwise I'm just going to go on forever and this recap's going to go on forever. So let's get straight into the episode. This is season 4, episode 10.
After the farm, we were always moving, but something happened. Something good. We found a prison. Daddy thinks that we can make it into a home. Lori's baby's just about due. She'll need a safe place when it comes. The thing is, I've been starting to get afraid that it's easier just to be afraid. But this morning, Daddy said something. If you don't have hope, what's the point of living? So I unpacked my bag, and I found you. So I'm gonna start writing in you again. And I'm gonna write this down now, because you should write down wishes to make them come true. We can live here. We can live here for the rest of our lives.
Unfortunately not. You didn't count on a man named the Governor.
We should do something. Maggie and Glenn could have made it out of A-Block. They could have. Your tracker. You can track. Sun will be up soon. If we head out now, we can... Fine. If you won't track, I will.
I love how proactive Beth is. Like this whole season, she's just become more and more of a driving force.
They picked up the pace right here. Got out in a hurry. Things went bad.
Wouldn't kill you to have a little faith.
Yeah, Faith. Faith ain't done shit for us. She was hell didn't do nothing for your father.
Oh, someone's done some handiwork.
What?
That ain't Walker blood.
Trail keeps going. They fought him off.
Oh, shit. So much for Beth not crying anymore.
We're not gonna die. I believe now. I believe for Daddy. If this doesn't work, I don't know how I could keep going.
Shit, the kid's out on their own.
Don't cry. I want Carol. Well, she's not here.
Oh, thank God, I thought they were on their own.
Further. Come on.
Judith. Man, I wish I hadn't got spoiled on that. I can't wait for Rick and Carl to see though.
They're gonna hear her.
Was Lizzie just
We shouldn't be out of here.
cutting up a rabbit?
Please soon.
Can we eat them?
Yeah, they're good.
Oh shit.
Here, Lizzie, have some.
Are these... Are those the berries Daryl and Beth saw on the floor? Are they following the trail of these?
Izzy.
Oh, if so, is that... Was that their bodies the walkers were eating?
There we. Come on. I heard it, Mika.
Yell at her. She doesn't understand Walker. You're the one who doesn't understand them.
Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, this is the trail Daryl was following, isn't it? You're basically seeing what happens.
Mika. Are you okay?
I got scared.
That's okay. We all get scared. You did the right thing running.
What?
She did. You hear, see a walker, you run. But when you're in a group, you gotta try to stay close to him, okay?
You're bleeding. Did I hurt your arm bad?
It was a lot worse at the prison. No big.
So that's the blood
Sorry.
Daryl found on the leaf.
I'm making sure you can see in both directions. And you stay like this and keep
You're
watching.
leaving us?
They may be from the prison. I need to help them.
We need you.
Mika,
I don't agree with this decision.
you can handle this. You're tough.
I know Tyrese is probably hoping it's Sasha, but... this ain't a good idea. Who are these peeps?
They're gonna hear us.
Oh no. Don't. She's gonna suffocate. Oh, fuck's sake. This kid's a psychopath, I'm pretty sure about it. I'm pretty sure she's the one doing the dissecting and stuff now.
Lizzie!
Lizzie is a psychopath.
Watch out!
Oh, she's... Fuck. He doesn't know she was the one that
Stay on the tracks.
killed him yet, does he, still? Rick never had
That was
time
my
to tell him.
mistake.
But the woods have more cover.
No,
Glad to see Carol
You don't
again, though.
understand.
I've got to say.
there's a place up the tracks. It's safe. You can take the children there.
I didn't see you get out.
Hadn't gotten back yet. Rick and I found a car. He took what we had back to the prison. Well, I kept looking.
Sanctuary for all, community for all. Those who arrive, survive.
Terminus.
Got the water to our backs, decent vantage points from the bank. I'm thinking we camp here for the night.
The bus got out. Glenn got out. I'm gonna find him.
We cannot split up, not now.
You said it. Can't split up.
Oh, shit. Glenn got out. There's no way they would kill him like that. No way. Glenn got out. She's happy. My boy Glenn survives again. For now. Where the fuck is he? How did he get back? I swear I saw him. He was on the bus, wasn't he? Unless he came back. Oh, it's Tara.
You're just gonna stay here? Huh? You're just gonna die?
I was part of this.
I know.
So what are you doing?
I need your help.
I wonder if this will be the last we ever see of the prison. The final shot.
I trusted him. And then he just killed that old man.
Oh
Wait,
shit.
was his name Herschel?
Glenn didn't know, did he? Fuck, I didn't even think about that. He was inside the prison.
Brian, that man told us you were bad people. I know it's not true. I can see it's not. So what we did, what I did. Oh man, I'm a piece of shit.
Maggie's father was a great man. And he told me all I have to do is believe. And that's what I'm gonna do. Neither one of us should be alive right now. She got out, so you're gonna help me find her.
Hope you enjoyed the show, assholes!
Who the fuck?
You got a damn mouth on you, you know that? What else you got?
So there we have it, episode 10, and this episode actually shocked me a little bit because I thought going forward, because of the previous episode, they'd focus on maybe one or two groups and how they got out of the prison and what they were doing now, but instead they sort of caught up with everyone. So it was a bit of a shock, but I guess a kind of nice shock to actually catch up with everyone and learn that they are all safe again. So let's start with the first group it began with, and that was Beth and Daryl. We caught with them. They were in the woods. They were obviously, you know, just reeling. Or Daryl seemed to be in a bit of shock from what happened, whereas Beth, she was sort of carrying on from what we've seen her and how she behaved in the previous episodes of this season. She's a lot more optimistic. She has a lot more faith, you know, and she just wants to keep ploughing forward. She wants to believe people are alive. She wants to believe that people got out of there, whereas Daryl seemed a bit resigned to the fact that maybe people didn't survive. And this is why I'm starting to like Beth a lot more, because of this optimistic attitude she has. And I think she's also doing it because of Herschel, of her father. She's trying to carry on his legacy of believing in people, you know, and pushing forward and having faith. We actually saw that faith in Beth right up to the point where they stumbled onto those bodies being eaten on the tracks, which we later found out was actually that other group, that new group we met for the whole of like 1 minute before they got eaten. So that was obviously their bodies, whereas I think Beth thought it was people from her group. She did mention a few names. I think one of them was Luke, and she also mentioned someone else, and I don't think I've met those characters before, but maybe it's just characters from the group I've never met and they thought it was them from the tracks. So it turns out it wasn't, it was other people, and all is well on that front. Though Beth was a bit devastated because I think she came to the realisation that that faith she had in the people that they were tracking had survived, hadn't survived, and she broke down. Whereas Daryl was just like, yeah, I told you so sort of attitude. But you know, I hope this doesn't deter Beth, because I have loved what I've seen from her this season so far. She's always been like, put our priorities first and our emotions second. We can always deal with our emotions after we've dealt with, you know, finding people or dealing with the job at hand, which I think is the right way to do things. I think you should have those emotions, but you should always put the job first. You should always put your focus on what needs to be done, and then when you've got that quiet moment, then you can mourn, then you can feel sadness, then you can sort of reflect on what's happened. And I feel like that's the route Beth is trying to take. Moving on next to Tyrese and Lizzie and Mika. That was an interesting few scenes, especially, well, firstly, interestingly, with Lizzie. Now, I said when we found out about the rat being dissected, you know, and the feeding of rats to the walkers, I said it could be Lizzie at first because she was treating the walkers like pets. But now this has probably made me think that it is 90% going to be Lizzie. I think there's a 90% chance that it is her, because of two reasons. Firstly, when they were sitting down at the camp with Tyrese, and she had the rabbit, and when she killed the rabbit, of course they were killing it for food, but it seemed like she was taking pleasure in it. And then of course the other moment was when Tyrese, which I think was a bad decision on Tyrese's behalf to leave those girls behind, you know. I didn't agree with that. I think that was a bad decision. I know he heard screams and he thought it could possibly be Sasha, but he should have taken them with him despite the risk, because on their own they were even more vulnerable. And especially with a crying baby as well. He left a crying baby, which is going to draw attention to him, so that was a big mistake by Tyrese. But the moment that made me suspect Lizzie again with this whole rat thing was when she was trying to keep Judith quiet. She put her hand over her mouth, and you know, there was a moment there where it was the way they sort of played an internal voice in her head, and the way everything started to fade out around her, and she had that look in her eye of like almost joy at the fact she was covering this baby's mouth to stop her from, you know, screaming but also breathing. It looked like she was taking a bit of pleasure in that. So like I say, I still think there is a 90% chance that it is Lizzie, but I could be completely wrong. I mean, I say I'm 90% sure, but these clues the writers are laying could also be red herrings. They could be laying these obvious clues on purpose, so people like me think, oh yeah, it's Lizzie, and then later down the line it gets revealed it's someone else. But you know, like I say, 90% that it's Lizzie at the moment, and then 10% everyone else. Of course, when Tyrese, Lizzie and Mika did reach the tracks, who turned up but Carol? And I gotta say, I was really happy, really happy in that moment to see Carol. It was almost like seeing the cavalry coming. Say if you're in trouble and then all of a sudden you see a familiar face come and save you from that trouble. It was one of those moments, and it was really joyful until the realisation came that Carol was the one that burnt the bodies. And Tyrese still doesn't know. He still doesn't know it was Carol. Whether or not anyone would tell him at this point, whether or not Tyrese has completely forgotten about that, well, at least for now, you know, because he's got more bigger worries on his mind, you know, with Sasha's safety at the forefront of his mind and his home being destroyed in the prison. But, you know, no doubt that stuff's going to come up again at some point. And I really didn't think that the group Carol stumbled upon, because I felt like there was a possibility that Carol would stumble upon one of the split up groups now, but I didn't think it would be Tyrese's group. I really didn't, and the fact they've done that has brought this whole new dynamic to that. And my question is now, will Carol reveal to Tyrese? We saw in this episode as well that he did ask where she was, and she lied. She said that, you know, Rick went ahead with supplies and she was just out looking still. So I don't know, maybe she will tell him in the future, maybe she won't. I guess this is just one of those things we'll have to wait and see. And I'm just glad she's back. I'm glad she's back with Lizzie and Mika, especially Mika, because she seems a lot more innocent than Lizzie, and I'm not still 100% sure if I can trust this Lizzie. She seems like she could do something bad at any moment, and I'm a bit hesitant to trust her. We then moved on, of course, to Maggie, Bob and Sasha. They've all got out alive, thankfully, as well, and despite them wanting a bit of rest, Sasha and Bob, well, Sasha mainly, she said she wanted to keep camp for the night in that place because it was safe. Maggie was having none of it. Maggie loves Glenn, and you know, again, it's putting them all at risk by going out, you know, but I don't think there was any chance of changing Maggie's mind in that moment. She needed closure, she needed to know if Glenn was still alive, and I don't blame her for going out. And I actually gained, you know, I say in episodes I gain respect for characters, but this was an episode where I gained some respect for Bob, because, you know, he had a bit of humour in him, he had a bit of joyfulness, and you know, in all this negativity that's going on and all this sadness, you know, he's a little bit of joy, which I appreciate. And he said, you know what, Sasha, you said we have to stick together, so, you know, he went out with Maggie, which then forced Sasha to go as well, which I really appreciate. We then saw Maggie and the group arrive at the bus which Glenn was left on the last time we saw him, and I said it in the reaction, but I honestly had faith Glenn wouldn't be on that bus or part of the walkers, because I feel as a character they would give him more respect than that. They wouldn't kill him like that. He wouldn't just turn up dead like that. It's a character where we would have to see the death for there to be that emotional impact. So I was really confident that he wasn't on the bus. Of course he wasn't, and seeing Maggie joyful in that moment. At first, I'll be honest, there was a little doubt in my mind when she sat down after she killed that walker, because we saw it had black hair, we saw it had a black t-shirt, and of course we know that's what Glenn was wearing. And I was worried for a second, just a second, but then that crying turned into a joyful cry. But little did Maggie know Glenn was back at the prison. He said in this episode as well that he got off the bus just before it left in order to help, and it appears that maybe he passed out because of course he recently got over that illness. We saw him pass out again in this episode. I did wonder at first what had caused it, but the more I think about it, the more I think that it must have been because he's just got over this really bad flu or whatever it was. We've still not found out what it was. I'm guessing it was a flu. Because he has just got over that, maybe, you know, he's just weak and he's exerting all this energy and he just passed out from that. Before he passed out the second time though, he stumbled upon Tara, which I was actually quite happy to see Tara, because we saw when she knew who the governor was and the fact that in that situation fighting against rich people, they were the bad guys, they were the attackers, she refused to fight. She chose not to fight despite the risk to herself. You know, one of her people could have turned on her and killed her. So I was really proud of Tara for that, and the fact that Glenn stumbled across her, you know, and the fact Glenn knows she was one of the people that attacked the prison. He still took her in, and he did say it was because he needed the help, not because he wanted it, because he needed it. And I don't care why she's with Glenn, I care that she is with Glenn, and I'm hoping that she now becomes part of Rick's group, because I said in reaction as well, she's a good person, she's got a good heart, and I feel like when stuff needs to be done, she'll do it. One moment which was a little sad between Glenn and Tara though was when Glenn found out that Herschel had died, and I'd completely forgotten that Glenn wouldn't know that because he was unconscious or because he was on the bus. You know, he wouldn't have seen that whole situation go down, and rightly so, Glenn was devastated, but I feel now that will drive him more to find Maggie. He won't give up finding Maggie now because he knows that she must be suffering and she must have witnessed that death. And now he is basically, apart from Beth, but he is basically all she's got, him and Beth. And he doesn't know if Beth is still alive, he doesn't know if Maggie's still alive. And I know Glenn, and I know he won't give up until he finds her. And the same with Maggie, she'll do the same, she won't give up till she finds him. And again, much like the reunions between Judith and Carl and Rick, I'm really looking forward to the reunion between Maggie and Glenn. I think that is going to be an amazing moment, and these are going to be the little joyful moments which I'm really going to appreciate in all this misery. Finally, at the end there, we saw a couple of new characters stumble across Tara and Glenn. Glenn is unconscious, Tara, she's on her own, bless her, and we stumbled across some sort of army unit. Well, they seemed like an army unit. There was only 3 of them. Like, it sort of looked like a father, a son, and maybe like a daughter, or even like the girlfriend of the son. That's what I'm suspecting. So it looks like this is another group they've stumbled upon. Maybe they are people from that sanctuary we heard about in this episode as well, which you were meant to follow the tracks to find. Damn it, what was it called now? I can't remember what it was called now, but there was some sort of sanctuary, and who knows? Maybe they're good people and they'll take Tara and Glenn to this sanctuary and maybe help them, or maybe it'll be another case of Woodbury where there's a sanctuary but there's rules and there's a ruler, and you know, the ruler just happens to be a psychopath again. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out, but I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with that, because obviously there is no base of operations now, there's no prison, there's no farm, they're all on the move, so maybe this new place they're heading to is going to be like the core of the season going forward, the core of maybe season 5 even. But that's about it, let's leave that there. Thoroughly enjoyed the episode, like I say, and despite the unknowns going forward, I'm glad everyone's still alive, and I'm super excited to see when they reunite with each other, because I have faith that it's coming. I hope no one dies on the way to them meeting up. I hope they manage to get all back together, you know, happy and safe. Whether it is at this new place where they were heading on the train tracks, or whether, you know, they just happen to stumble across each other at another place, I don't care, as long as they get back together and they're a group again. So until tomorrow, when I see you in the next episode, I'll catch you later, and bye bye. Thank you for watching The Walking Dead with me. If you enjoyed this reaction, please leave a thumbs up, because it helps me and it helps the channel grow. If you have any thoughts or theories about the episode, leave them in the comment section below, but please, no spoilers. If you want to support me even more than you do now, you can find me on Patreon. Link is in the description with all the rewards tiers. And finally, if you want to keep up to date with the channel, you can find me on Twitter at TVandMe Reacts, or you can subscribe.